Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom surrounded by mountains and blooming flowers, there lived a kind and beautiful girl. Her eyes sparkled like stars, and her heart was as pure as a gentle stream. Though life was not easy, she always carried a gentle smile, like a little flower quietly growing with strength and grace. Her mother had passed away early, leaving her with her father. Later, her father remarried, but the stepmother was cold-hearted, and her two daughters often bullied the girl. Every day, she worked at heavy chores until her hands were rough with little calluses. Her clothes were always dusty and worn, so people began to call her Cinderella. Though her days were hard, Cinderella never complained. At night, when the world grew quiet, she would sit by the attic window, gazing at the stars. Softly, she whispered her hopes to them, tucking her dreams deep inside her heart. She believed that one day, her life would shine as brightly as the stars above. One day, joyful news spread from the palace. The prince would hold a grand ball, inviting all the young maidens of the land. People hurried to share the news, and laughter filled the streets. Cinderella's heart began to flutter with excitement. How she wished she could wear a lovely dress and see the beautiful palace for herself. But her stepmother, filled with jealousy, said coldly, "You shall not go." Her stepsisters sneered, as if they would never allow her even the smallest step toward happiness. Quietly, Cinderella found an old piece of cloth and began to sew a small dress, stitching into it all her hope and courage. But when her stepsisters saw, they only laughed cruelly at her efforts. At last, the night of the ball arrived. Her stepmother locked her away in the attic, not allowing her to take a single step outside. Poor Cinderella sat alone in the dark, tears slipping down her cheeks, believing that all her dreams had been shattered. Just then, a tender glow filled the room, and before her stood a gentle fairy, radiant with kindness. Her voice, soft as the whisper of spring, soothed the girl's heart. "Do not weep, dear child. I have come to help you, and tonight you shall go to the royal ball." With a wave of her wand, the fairy turned a pumpkin into a golden carriage, and mice into tall, proud horses. The magic sparkled softly, gentle and dreamlike. Then the fairy conjured a beautiful gown and a pair of crystal slippers. Cinderella touched the shoes gently, her heart racing like a little deer. The fairy smiled and whispered, "Remember, the magic will last only until midnight." Cinderella stepped into the carriage, her heart both nervous and full of hope. The wheels rattled softly along the forest path, like stars whispering in the night sky. Silently, she wished that tonight might be as lovely as a dream. When she entered the palace, crystal chandeliers glimmered softly, as if countless stars had fallen into the hall. Everyone paused, staring in wonder at the beautiful maiden they had never seen before. Even the music seemed to slow, as though it was listening too. The prince saw her, and his eyes lit with wonder. Gently he stepped forward, offered his hand, and asked in a voice as soft as the wind, "May I have this dance?" The music rose again, and Cinderella's gown swirled in the light, like drifting clouds in the night sky. The prince watched her closely, as though she were the only soul left in the grand hall. They danced and danced, as if time itself had stopped. Warmth filled Cinderella's heart, a feeling she had never known before. It was as if a wishing star had truly fallen beside her. But then, far away, the clock struck. Dawn, dawn, midnight was near. Startled like a frightened bird, Cinderella turned and rushed out of the palace. She hurried down the steps, her gown fluttering like the wind. In her rush, a crystal slipper slipped from her foot and lay shining upon the stairs. There was no time to turn back. She vanished into the night. As the clock struck 12, the carriage melted back into a pumpkin, and the horses into little mice. All that remained was one crystal slipper, and the sweet melody is still beating in Cinderella's heart. The next day, the prince held the delicate slipper and ordered that the mysterious maiden be found. He believed that the one whose foot fit the shoe was the one who had captured his heart. The news spread like the wind through every street and alley. All the girls were excited, eager to try the crystal slipper, but each foot was either too big or too small. None was just right. At last, the prince arrived at Cinderella's home. Her stepmother and stepsisters hurried forward, trying to force their feet into the slipper, but no matter what, it would not fit. At that moment, Cinderella stepped forward gently and slipped the shoe onto her foot. It fit perfectly. The room fell into silence, and everyone was too astonished to say a word. At that very moment, the fairy's magic shimmered once more. Cinderella's plain clothes turned into a beautiful gown, and she shone gently like the brightest star in the night sky. The prince recognized her. His eyes filled with joy. Taking her hand, he whispered with endless tenderness, "It was you all along." The stepmother and sisters stood frozen, their faces showing both shame and surprise. At last, they understood. True beauty shines from a kind heart. From that day on, Cinderella was never lonely again. She and the prince shared laughter and moments together in the palace. And in her eyes, there was always a light like the stars. window. She knew it was kindness and hope that had carried her step by step to where she was now. At night, when the palace grew quiet, the stars still twinkled outside the window. They watched over her like old friends, and over every child who holds a dream. And so, my dear little one, remember this: if you keep kindness and hope in your heart, the stars will always stay by your side, guiding you gently into sweet dreams.